With Will Wade's first NC State recruit in the bag, the fan base is clamoring to know who's going to be next.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head on over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 different flavors to choose from. If you need one now, head to your local grocery or convenience store. They're literally everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we had our first commitment of the Will Wade era. That was Alan Breed committing to NC State on Wednesday. So now we've heard some visits. We've heard some possible silent commitments to NC State. We saw another potential prospect enter the portal on Thursday. That is Quadir Copeland. We'll talk a lot about him in just a second. The fan base wants to know who's going to be next.
Well, I got a sneaky suspicion it's going to be Tyler Harris. Tyler Harris was reportedly on campus already here. And I mean, listen, I'm going to just say this. I'm not blind. Grace is not blind. We both picked out problems with last year's team from a mile away, right? Not enough length, not enough shooting. What if I told you that there was a young man in the portal that is 6'8", shooting nearly 50% from deep? Would you take that deal? Would you take that deal? I'll take that deal. You'll take that deal, Grayson?
I would absolutely take that deal.
We'll take that deal. I think that Tyler Harris to State is nearly a done deal, and this is a big one to get over the finish line because I think that he's one of those players. He's not going to be a 20-point-a-game guy. That's not what you're expecting out of him at all, but you're expecting him to be a guy who can start in his role. When you talk about what Will Wade does in high defensive pressure and the ability to switch defenses when need be, what allows you to do that is talent, depth, and length. Okay? And this young man's got all three. He is very talented. He can shoot the blow out the ball. Even if he's not a starter or even if he's not a guy that's taking a ton of shots, he will add to your depth and length. Again, did I mention how tall he is already? 6'8" as a guard/wing. So I think Tyler Harris, to me, is more of a priority than anything else because Quadir Copeland, while he is a really good passer, playmaker, distributor, all those things, good handle. He's not a small guy in his own right. I believe he's 6'6" or something like that. So he's a pretty lengthy guy himself. But if you're talking about a force multiplier or a guy that, when you get him the ball in his spots, he'll get it done. I'd want the guys that, when they get to their spot, they can get it done more than anything else.
Tyler Harris is a 6'8" guard. He was with the Washington Huskies for this season. And I want to reemphasize something that Kenton said. He didn't say 49% shooting overall, 49.5% from three-point land, from the perimeter. That's a sniper. We are talking about a potential hired sniper here. And for Will Wade, who is a coach who vehemently relies on analytics in college basketball. He's heavy into the numbers games. He's heavy into how he analyzes those numbers and how he builds out a roster and his lineups from said numbers. Tyler Harris was on campus at NC State on Wednesday. I do think NC State is trending in the right direction with Tyler Harris. Length, shooting, and his ability to rebound, I think makes him an even more attractive portal target here. He averages 5 rebounds a game, but using that length, you can put him anywhere on the court. You can play him from the 2 spot to the 4 spot, and he will produce in a number of different ways. I don't think he's going to be a showstopper guy. We're not looking at LeBron James here, but you want a guy who's a hired gun, so to speak. Everyone remembers Sam Hunt. Remember Sam Hunt from the Kevin Keatts era? He was a lefty shooter, but he was a bullseye from three-point land. That's kind of what you're looking at with Tyler Harris, but he's even more versatile than Sam Hunt was. Sam Hunt, if I remember correctly, was 6'2", 6'3". You knew what he was on the floor to do, and that was to shoot threes. Tyler Harris can give you that, plus he can crash the boards. And I think his versatility in that right is a perfect target for the Will Wade era here. So I'm with you, Kenton. I think Tyler Harris is probably one of the next couple commitments that you hear from NC State. And I think he'll be a very sneaky good grab at that. I'm now going to transition into Quadir Copeland. Mentioned him yesterday. He actually did enter the portal officially on Thursday. I don't think this is going to take much time at all. I do expect him to join Will Wade at NC State. I've seen a lot of dialogue on if people think that's a good idea or not. Now, again, he was previously at Syracuse. A lot of NC State fans are kind of rubbed the wrong way from him. He was jaw-jacking with some fans 2 years ago in Raleigh. Something to remember with Quadir Copeland is he's also not really a showstopper type of player, but he's very much like a junkyard dog type of player. We often compared Sinai Rivers to Draymond Green. I don't quite think Copeland is in that same area, but he's another player that finds different ways to impact the game because, to be honest with y'all, he's really not that great of a shooter. He shoots like less than 20% from three-point land, so he's not going to light it up from there. He's a 6'6" guard that can't really shoot. So any scoring that you're going to get out of him is more than likely going to be at the rim or maybe at the foul line. So perhaps he's a little bit limited in that, right? But he's going to muck it up. He's going to get in the paint. He's going to crash the glass. He has a surprisingly high assist rate for a 6'6" guard. And something else I mentioned to you yesterday, he's not a primary ball handler by any stretch of the imagination, but he does have experience in doing so. So a small aspect of his game is perhaps he can take some of the pressure off of your primary ball handler at times. I don't think it's, an extensive plan for the long term, but at times he can be flexible with the looks that he can give you on the court. I don't think Quadir Copeland is like a home run get out of the portal, but I don't think he's a bad idea either. I think for this team, and I've also seen this comparison thrown around, he is like the living embodiment of a player that you hate playing against, but you love him when he's on your team. That's exactly what you're getting out of Copeland. So I do also expect Copeland to commit to NC State here relatively soon. Kenton, give me your thoughts on Copeland to State.
Yeah, while I want Harris more, and while I've heard more traction on Harris out of the gates here, Quadir Copeland is not a guy that I would at all say, hold on, player, hold on. We only got so many scholarships. We can't go giving them out like candy here. He's not one of those guys. He absolutely can get it done. And like you said, you talk about the things that he can do on the court well, right? There's no reason to lament the shooting struggles there all day and night. You talk about a guy that when he's attacking the rim, he's dangerous for so many reasons. Last year, we had a bunch of guards that were good going downhill that did not have the stature and the touch around the rim, nor, and this is, again, no shade to those guys, but the creativity with their passing to find guys in those types of ways. And also on the defensive end, this is a guy that is very long. This is a guy that when he's not reaching, when he's moving those feet and standing in front of folks, it is tough to get away from a guy that is 6'6" as a point guard. It is tough to do that as a shooting guard as well. It's not something that you're going to be seeing every day in college. So I really and truly look at Quadir Copeland and say he brings a lot as well. He has a wonderful skill set as well. Both of these guys, very different guys, but again, Quadir Copeland is a baller in his own right. So I don't want anybody to hear me say, I definitely want Tyler Harris, and I've heard more on that front, to take that as, I don't want Quadir Copeland. Because the more the merrier in terms of really good players. Like I've said about football, like I've said about women's basketball, I'll reiterate about men's basketball. You cannot have too many good players. You can never have too many good players. And that's what I believe Quadir Copeland is.
Yeah, and furthering your point about his defense, I think his defense might be actually the best aspect of his game because he is so long, a 6'6" guard. He can guard 1 through 4. I think maybe the 4 and 5 is perhaps a little bit of a stretch, but he certainly has the athleticism to do so. So I like his prospects of being a junkyard dog. I think every team kind of needs somebody that embodies that a little bit. Copeland would certainly be that guy following Will Wade to State. And I think another thing, Will Wade has a lot of swagger. And Copeland kind of has that in like a different right in that he's going to rile up the opposing crowd. He's probably going to rile up the opposing team to a certain degree. I like that. I like that in a guy. He's a little bit fearless. He'll go into any situation. He'll talk his mess and back it up at times too. I think I like him the most for that part because I want guys with an edge to him. I want guys that reflect the edge that Will Wade has. Copeland is certainly one of those guys. So I think these are probably the two most likely names to keep your eye out here for in the coming days. Matthew Abel is perhaps the third. He was the guy pictured with Will Wade at the Flying Biscuit this past weekend. High school kid, top 30 high school player in the country. think he'd be another show-stopping freshman to add into the fray. Coming up next, we can get into Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Fabric. Life moves fast, and especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from the comfort of your own couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, there's no health exam required. As a parent, you simply just want to make sure your family is financially protected for no matter what happens. Fabric will give you that peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 per day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. MEETFABRIC, meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Insure your family today at Fabric. Our second Friday sponsor is PrizePicks. The baseball season is now in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, all you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, PrizePicks keeps every single game exciting. This week, I'm thinking about Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run and Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base, because more often than not, it's easy money. Setting a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, 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 to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Middle portion of our Friday show. Now time for Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Here we go. First one comes from Toast803. They say, my ultimate take is that the Will Wade hire was a test to see if NC State would pony up and invest given a reason. Not only did Boo get one of the hot names available this year, he got the guy. NC State passed the test. Kenton, your thoughts?
Absolutely. If this was a test, A+ with flying colors. If this was a test, the NC State is now the kid that's like, excuse me, Miss Johnson, you didn't collect your homework. This is passing with flying colors. I mean, at the end of the day, you see how the NIL money has increased for basketball overnight. You see how the money was created to not only buy out Keats, but get a contract in place for Will Wade like it was nothing. Like, this is, I look at last year as a failure for NC State football in a way that I put that on the coaches and injuries in a way that I don't put it on the institution not investing, because it was clear the investment was there. I don't blame Wolfpack Nation for not investing, because it was clear the investment was there. The NIL money was there. Everything was there. Things just did not work out for a multitude of reasons. That is where I'm at with basketball as well. The institution has gotten behind this thing. Wolfpack Nation has gotten behind this thing. Everybody is doing their part to create a winner. Now the only part that's left to do is the hard part. Be the damn winner. But everybody's done their part. Again, pass the test with flying colors.
I love how this was phrased from Toast803, because it has really felt exactly like this. It almost feels like a social experiment in a sense, because for decades now, the fan base has always wondered, man, if NC State could just be exciting and, gather up the whole fan base to rally behind, whether it's a hot name coach or a couple big prospects to actually come to NC State and play. We have always felt like we could be something, because the fan base in totality has felt like a sleeping giant for as long as many of us can remember. Probably, dating back to the 80s, the last time we were somewhat relevant with Jimmy V. And for NC State to go out and land, arguably, I mean, at least in all of our opinions, the top name of the coaching carousel to NC State. Like, that's a real thing. I'm still honestly coming to grips with the fact that Will Wade is here at NC State. And every time I see a picture of him in the NC State quarter zip, I have to like pinch myself. I'm like, oh, damn, we're actually doing this thing. But no, it kind of does feel like a social experiment in a sense, because it's like, well, if NC State were to get the hot name coach one of these years, how would the fan base respond? And what you're seeing is exactly the way that we thought it would look. We're all buying into this thing. One-pack NIL is booming. Now, of course, there's still a lot of work still to be done, but the financial resources are there to match what the coach wanted to have in order to take this thing to the next level. Will Wade gave us his expectations for himself and this team, and the backing financially from the administration and the fan base has aligned with what he sees this program can do in year one. That is NC State rising to the challenge and accepting across the board that it is time to seek higher levels of success. So it does feel like a social experiment. I think this is extremely well worded from Toast 803. Second one comes from All Eyes Within. They say, I noticed that Vern Hamilton also happened to be on the staff with the Mavericks at the time of Dennis Smith Jr.'s rookie season. It would be pretty cool to see DSJ and old friend J. Cole back at the Lenny to help support this new era of Wolfpack hoops. And by the way, has someone gotten Coach Wade lined up with those Dreamville passes yet for any big fish he might have on campus this weekend? I love this comment. I think it speaks to Coach Wade having swagger, and he does have a ton of swagger. He's a walking soundbite in each and every press conference he has. And I think, not just the way that he attacks the portal and is aggressive in his coaching style, that swagger is also something that this fan base has wanted to have from a head coach. You want to bring back some of the magic that we felt in the 80s. And I think that's why I kind of compared him personality-wise to Jim Valvano, because Jimmy V was electric and he was so engaging in every personal connection. And every time he was on a mic, he had the entire room by the hand. He was going to tell you his thoughts, his feelings, and probably make you cry in the process. Will Wade is a little bit different, but he will keep your attention at any and all times. And he's going to talk a bunch of poop. He's going to talk a bunch of mess, and he's going to back it up every step of the way. We've always wanted this guy, and for the fan base to have the opportunity to match that swagger and just reignite this whole thing. We want Wolfpack Nation, to Kenton's point, we want to be the black hat. We want to be the school that is hated by the rest of the country for how much we're winning. We've always wanted that. And we really feel like we finally have the guy to do it. And his attitude is just on another level of what we have aspired to be as a basketball program, as an athletic program, and as a fan base. One of my biggest hopes for Will Wade, aside from just winning on the basketball court, is that NC State becomes like, quote unquote, cool. I want NC State to be a cool brand, a cool program. I want people to follow us even if they're not a fan of us. I want them to be interested in NC State. And I think Will Wade gives you an excellent opportunity to do that.
This is an interesting one. This is a very, very interesting one in terms of, would you like to see Dennis Smith Jr. and J. Cole back? I mean, sure, cool.
Dennis Smith, I don't know, but J. Cole is always welcome.
Here's the thing. I don't got a problem if Dennis Smith wants to come back. I really don't. My biggest thing is this. I get where you're coming from, Grayson. Being cool is cool, yes. You know what's cooler than being cool? You know what makes people cool?
Winning.
Just win the damn game. I don't care if there's Dreamville passes or not. Just go out there and get us some recruits and win some ball games, okay? And if there are Dreamville passes floating out around there, I mean, hey, we've seen how much folks have given to One-Pack and whatnot. I'm sure that they're going to come up immediately if that is a thing. But in all seriousness, I really am looking at this and I'm saying to myself, NC State is there in terms of on that precipice of being nationally relevant and being known and all those things. We saw it during the Final Four run where everybody's like, oh, NC State is America's team and all that. Okay, great, cool. Again, being America's team, being the rebel, being Han Solo, being the person or the team that people root for is cool. I like being the Empire better. I like being the Stormtrooper. I like being the people that are, oh my God, here comes this guy. And that's what Will Wade said in his opening press conference. So again, Dennis Smith Jr., J. Cole, Cat Barber, TJ Warren, give me some Trevor Lacey back in there, give me some BJ. Don't matter. I want to see some wins. That's what I want to see more than anything else.
Next one comes from Johnny98335. They say this is on the context of the hiring of Adam Howard as an assistant coach. He says, if Howard had anything to do with the recruiting of Tominaga guy from a year ago, then sign me up. So Keisei Tominaga was the left-handed Japanese three-point specialist for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is the second consecutive episode I'm referencing Nebraska ball, but Keisei Tominaga was a human highlight reel for Nebraska. Yeah. And many of you have probably never seen him before, understandable, because we're talking about Nebraska ball again, but he was a dead-eye three-point shooter, and Adam Howard was involved. He was there for the onset of Tominaga coming to Nebraska, and he was responsible for Nebraska being amongst the top three-point shooting teams in the Big Ten Conference. So I think linking Adam Howard to a potential name like Tyler Harris, that would make some exciting waves here, because if you can get Tyler Harris to NC State, who's already shooting, 49% from the perimeter, which is purely an absurd number, and then you link him with a coach who, quote unquote, offensive coordinator and an assistant coach that creates a lot of great looks for great three-point shooters, yeah, that sounds like a match made in heaven to me. So Adam Howard was involved with Tominaga from Nebraska, and we certainly hope he can be involved with Tyler Harris from Washington.
I hope he's involved with Tyler Harris, Tominaga Jr., whoever can come in here and help us win some damn ball games. That's what I want. I hope he's responsible for drawing up some sets that are just, we look back at it and we're just like, oh my God, this man was an offensive genius. Again, that Tominaga guy was fantastic. He really was. And, it was exciting. It was fun. It was novel and all that good stuff. But again, more than individual success, you know what I want? Team success, winning. I know, guys. I know I talk about winning too much. I know it was a big part of my personality for a very long time. Apologies. But that is, that's how I believe Howard affects his team. I do believe that he affects winning with his ability to recruit, with his ability to draw up offensive sets, with his ability to instill offensive philosophies in the team he coaches at.
Yeah, I was just about to say, is anyone else still confused on what Kenton's main priority for NC State basketball is? Win the damn game. That's all that matters. Yeah, talk about recruits is fun, but they have to give you the results on the. Coming up next, we're talking about the ACC making yet another questionable decision. We have some thoughts on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third Friday sponsor is 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings time snuck up on us all yet again. So if you're feeling if you lost an hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost in order to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the Final Four this weekend, or squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your very busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. With longer days, you love being outside for a hike or a run. Tropical Burst is the perfect flavor to pair with those activities. If you're traveling to a game or just traveling in general, 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and always will keep you feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 different flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to the comfort of your front door. If you need one now, grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store because they're literally everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized at 5hourenergy.com. Last couple minutes of our Friday show. I saw this come across my desk on Thursday. The ACC is moving the women's ACC basketball tournament away from Greensboro to head down to Duluth, Georgia. So not even Atlanta, but 30 miles outside of Atlanta. To this, I asked Kenton, why are they ruining what is already a good thing?
It's the ACC, okay? I wish I had an answer. We've reached out to Jim Phillips to have him on Locked On ACC in the past, and he told me when I saw him at the Dukes Mayo Kickoff Classic between NC State and Tennessee, hey, I'd be happy to have you on, and we're happy to have you, Mr. Commissioner. We're happy to have you here on Locked On Wolfpack. We're happy to have you on Locked On ACC, wherever you want to come. Because here's the thing, right? I legitimately don't understand this move for a boatload of reasons. Number one, you did not move to Atlanta. You moved 30 miles northeast of Atlanta. And for anybody who knows anything about Atlanta traffic, 30 miles outside of Atlanta is not near Atlanta.
Yeah, forget it.
And then, Grayson, name the specific city.
It's Duluth with a D. Duluth.
Duluth, Georgia. Not Duluth, Minnesota. Not to be mistaken. Duluth is its own city and has its own ecosystem and all that. Sure.
City.
The fact,
I just won the ACC tournament.
Confetti falling in Duluth is already a crazy thought. But Greensboro has a total population. The Greensboro metropolitan area has a total population of about 300,000. Duluth, slightly over 32,000. What are we doing here? Who is this for? Who does this help? I'm very serious in this line of inquiry because I'm confused. Not even from a standpoint of, oh, you moved it further away from NC State. I would not be mad if, Grayson on there talked about if it moved to Charlotte, it would make sense because that's where the headquarters is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even be mad if they decided to do it like the men's tournament, move it up and down the East Coast. Sure. But to move it to Duluth, Georgia is just such a head scratcher. It's just, with all due respect, there should be nothing involved with Duluth, Georgia, except for Hallmark movies where people are selling mistletoes for 3 months out of the year and trying to convince their high school sweetheart to quit her big fancy job as a big corporate lawyer in New York. That's the only thing that Duluth should be hosting, not ACC tournament games.
I think this is a ridiculously stupid idea. And before I read something to you, my stance is not because I hate change or I think moving the ACC tournament around is such a bad idea, but I think it makes the most sense to have the majority of your conference tournaments for the ACC in Charlotte. That is where the headquarters is. They already do it for football. I know baseball, they bounce back and forth between Charlotte and Durham. There's a real part of this where, and I've said this multiple times before, but I do like history and tradition in the ACC conference. And Greensboro is synonymous with the ACC basketball tournament for both men and women. And men's, they're kind of moving that around now. It was just in Charlotte this year. It was in Washington, D.C. last year, obviously, because we won it. I don't hate so much that they're trying different things, but I want to read this snippet in their press release to you because there's no possible way that you can rationalize this at all after I read this. So this press release was actually really funny because they give you like 4 to 5 paragraphs on why Duluth is a good idea. And, it's going to be great for the economy in Duluth, Georgia. Yippee. Everybody swing your arms in unison. They finished this press release by saying this season, the 2025 Ally ACC Women's Basketball Tournament drew more than 70,000 fans for the first time since 2009. The title game, which featured Duke and NC State, set an attendance record, with 11,823 fans, surpassing the previous mark set in 2005 and 2007 of 11,538. So, what I just told you, they just had record highs in the attendance for the entire tournament and the championship game, which means the health of this tournament in Greensboro is perhaps the best they've seen in 20 years. And what do? They follow that up by removing it from that location and putting it in a random spot northeast of Atlanta, not even Atlanta. Like maybe you could make some sense in putting it in a big city like Atlanta. It's not even in Atlanta. Who made this decision and why? I think this is the dumbest thing I've seen in quite some time. And you hope that this doesn't bleed into the other sports. Like if they put the ACC football championship in Boston, I'm going to lose my mind. Like let's not try and reinvent the wheel here. If it works, there's a reason why it's working. The tradition within the state of North Carolina has been such a great thing for the ACC basketball tournament.
Yeah, it's foolishness to the highest degree. I mean, I really, again, it's just another decision by the ACC that, like, as soon as you pat them on the back for saying, like, oh, we're going to have a lot of Friday night football games, and that's going to be our night now to, like, be on TV. I'm like, okay, great. You made a good decision. immediately they say, one step forward, 3 steps back, ladies and gentlemen. Just broke a record in terms of attendance. Guess what? We're taking this show on the road to the one, the only Duluth, Georgia.
They witnessed record highs in attendance, and they said, you know what would be even better? Let's move it to a location that nobody will care about it. This is pitiful. So certainly a shame to see it move out of Greensboro for, I guess, the foreseeable future. Yeah, I just hope that better not bleed into other decisions they're making for, football or men's basketball or baseball. Don't ruin what's already good, ACC. With 2030 creeping around the corner, you're going to be foolish like this in broad daylight? What happened to the conference I love, Kenton? I don't know. That'll do it for us here on Friday. Thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on potentially Quadir Copeland joining us at NC State, or Tyler Harris from Washington, or any other names you'd like to float out there because you love to see them in the red and white. Give us your thoughts on the ACC uprooting the women's basketball tournament and sending it to Duluth, Georgia, of all places. Yeah, give us your thoughts on that. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.